I'm so glad you're here. This video is a companion to the digital download that is in my Etsy shop. The digital download has a printable pattern, a list of required materials, and written instructions. And then you can come back here and watch this video to see exactly how you make your doll. Once you've finished, take a picture and post it on Instagram. Tag us at Friends of Susie so I can see your beautiful creations. So happy sewing!
Here are all the pattern pieces cut out, and these are the pieces that you will receive with the download from the Friends of Susie Etsy shop. And here I'm just showing you all the different pieces that you will cut out, and the instructions will tell you how many of each one to cut. And these eyes, make sure that you do some heat and bond on the back before you cut those out, because we'll iron them on later. This is the leg stitching pattern and the arm stitching pattern. For our first step, we're going to take one of the leg pieces and place the leg stitching pattern on top. We'll trace around it with a pencil so we know exactly where to sew. Using the leg and arm stitching patterns helps to make your arms and legs perfectly even. Now we'll take our leg piece that has the stitching pattern traced on it, and we'll put it right sides together with another leg piece. Now you're going to stitch along the line that you made. You'll repeat this with the other leg. I'm using black thread so you can see exactly where I've sewn, but usually I use white thread or a matching thread. After both legs are stitched, grab your scissors and trim off the excess, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now that your legs are stitched, grab your tube turner and place it inside the tube of the leg. You're going to use this to turn the leg right side out. These things really come in handy. Alright, now we're going to repeat the same process that we did with the legs to make the arms. So here I am just tracing the arm stitching pattern onto the back, the wrong side of the arm fabric. And then I'll take two pieces right sides together and stitch around right on that line that I've made with the pencil. And it helps to go around that curve if you have your needle in the down position and you pivot, pulling up your presser foot. And here, just like I did with the feet, I'm just going to trim around, leaving a 1/4 inch excess seam allowance, just so there's not so much bulk when you flip it right side out. Here I'm showing you that I'm using a smaller size tube turner for the arms than I did for the legs. These really come in handy when flipping those tubes inside out. And then again, I'll just use the pointy side to poke out the end there. After your arms and legs are turned right side out, grab your rickrack and let's sew it onto the front body to make the collar. You can see that those two bumps from the rickrack on the bottom are going to make up the collar, so I'm just trimming across the top to make a straight line and make it easier for me to stitch it onto the front body. Now we'll take the face piece and stitch it on top of the collar. Just line up the straight edges and stitch with a 1/4 seam allowance. Grab the back of the head hair piece and do the same thing that you did with the front body. We're going to stitch the hair piece onto the back body with a 1/4 seam allowance. Use a wider stitch setting for this stitch because you'll be picking it out later. Now we'll sew the hair onto the face. So I try to line up the top curves and make sure that the bottom hairline is straight and that it's even on the two edges. Then I'll take a pin and put it in place. Now we're going to change our thread so that it matches the hair, because you're going to do a top stitch. Now we're going to sew the hair onto the face. So you're going to do a top stitch along the hairline, getting as close to the hairline as you can. At this corner, just have your needle in the down position and pivot. Then continue stitching along the hairline. And here I'm going to show you what my finished product looks like. While you have your hair color thread in your machine, grab your pigtails, grab 2 pieces of felt and put them together and do a top stitch around the outside. If you find the edges of your pigtails aren't perfectly lined up or they're not perfectly smooth, just take your scissors and trim. Now, to make the pigtails look extra cute, I like to add a bit of dimension by folding the pigtail on top of itself, and then stitching across the end to hold it in place before I stitch it to the face. Now your pigtails are ready to sew onto the face. So you can arrange your pigtails however you want. I like to have mine pointing down and out, but you could put them more in the middle or even up high. They look cute anyway. To attach the pigtails, you need to put pretty sides together, so the pigtail will be pointing inward. Place the pigtail at the bottom of the hairline and have it pointing straight across the face. Then stitch across the edge of the pigtail. This is what I use to stuff my arms and legs. It's actually a fondue fork, but I know that you can get stuffing forks maybe on Amazon or Joann's. So I just wrap the stuffing around the fondue fork and then stick the fondue fork into the arm or leg. And I'm careful not to poke the pointy end of the fork through the fabric. You want to leave about an inch at the top of the arms and legs unstuffed. This makes them easier to sew in, and it feels nice to have a doll with floppy arms and legs. Now we'll iron on our eyes. These are felt eyes cut out with heat and bond on the back. So I align them on the face, make sure they're even, and then I iron them from the front, and then I flip the doll over and iron really well from the back. After you have your eyes ironed on, you're ready to stitch on the details of the face. I used an embroidery hoop to hold my doll's face. You can use embroidery thread or thread like I have here, and you need white, pink, and black. First, I will stitch on the little corner of the eye with some white thread. So all it takes is 1 stitch in each eye. I start from the back, and I can see the eye from the back of the fabric. And that is my guide to tell me where to put that stitch. After my stitches are done, I tie them with a square knot in the back. The next step is to stitch on your eyelashes. I do 3 eyelashes in the corner of each eye, and I secure the stitch with a square knot on the back. After you have your eyelashes on, use a pencil to draw a guide of where you want your smile to be. Then use your pink thread and stitch 4 stitches for the smile. Now we're ready to baste the arms to the front body so they stay in place when you're sewing on the back body. Place them facing inward and stitch across the top of the arm, and repeat for the other arm. After the arms are basted on, you'll secure the back piece to the front piece, lining them up at the neck. I always secure these with 2 pins, and when I start sewing, I start at the bottom left corner. I stitch all the way around the body, leaving an opening at the bottom where I will insert the legs. When you come to the neck, I always have my needle in the down position so that I can do a little pivot. So there's a nice corner where the neck meets the body. Now the opening that you left at the bottom is where you're going to insert the legs. So take your pins out, and when you grab your legs, make sure that you have the 2 toes pointing inward. And then just go ahead, and I like to rearrange my arms so they're not in the way, and put my legs right in that hole. And then you'll line up the top of the legs with the bottom of the body, and just stitch straight across to close up the hole and secure the legs. Sometimes you need to push those arms up out of the way, and that leaves a nice space for you to be able to sew the legs. And now you can arrange your legs so that they're not right next to each other, and so they look even at the bottom of the body. Some people like their legs close together. I've seen some dolls with them far apart. They both look cute, it's just your preference. Now we need to make an opening so we can flip the doll right side out. So take your seam ripper and pick out that larger stitch that we did at the back of the neck. Just create enough room so you can flip everything right side out. I always pull my arms out first, then the legs, then comes the body and the pigtails, and then I have to use a stick normally to poke out the head and make sure that it's really nice and round. The next step is stuffing your doll. I like to stuff mine really firmly, and one thing that's nice about stuffing is that if your head or body doesn't seem perfectly round, like here I have some little corners in my neck that I don't like, you can really use the stuffing to hide any imperfections. So just stuff it really firmly along the side of the head there to just give the illusion that it's a really round head, and I think that makes it look really cute. When you finish stuffing your doll, it's time to sew up the back of the neck. So take a piece of thread and thread both ends into your needle. You're going to do a ladder stitch to close up the back of the neck, and it's really nice if you don't have to tie a knot at the beginning. So if you thread both ends of the thread into your needle, then you can just put the needle through the loop that's created and you don't have to tie a knot to secure it. So here I am just threading that through the loop, and then you can just watch me as I do a ladder stitch. Once you get to the end of the opening, you're going to take your thread and pull it tight, and that will close up the opening and create a nice seam where you can't see your stitches. Then just kind of use your needle or your stuffing stick or something like that to poke those little pieces back into the seam that want to stick out. Now I'm going to tie a square knot to secure this stitch, but before trimming my thread, I'm going to thread my needle again and press the end through the body before trimming. Alright, we're almost finished. Now we're going to work on the bow for the hair. So you're going to take your rectangle of fabric and fold it in half lengthwise, and you're going to stitch along the 3 open ends. So make sure you do some back stitching when you start, and then you're going to leave an opening halfway down the long side. So you can see that I skipped a part there, I left an opening, and that's where I'm going to flip the bow right side out. Now I'm going to use my trusty tube turner to turn this right side out. So you don't need to do a top stitch to close up that opening. All you need to do is just iron it closed, just iron it flat, and when you tie the bow, you won't even notice the opening. We're ready to tie the bow. So first, fold it in half, and then fold the ends in one more time. So you have 2 ears. I'm folding in and making the first ear, making the second ear. Now take the right ear over the left ear and push it through. Now you've got a nice little bow, and all you need to do now is just work it until it looks how you want it to look. So I just take each ear and each tail and I work the knot, I squish the knot in the middle, and I pull it as tight as I can, and I just get it until it looks the way I want it. Now we'll work on the skirt. I have a serger and I like to serge the ends of the skirt, but if you don't have a serger, you can just go ahead and do a rolled hem. Fold the bottom of the skirt up 1/4 of an inch and the top of the skirt fold it over 1/2 of an inch. And then check that the two ends of your skirt are the same width. Now take the skirt back to the sewing machine and stitch along the top and bottom hems. You're going to be adding an elastic to the top hem, so measure around your doll's waist to see how long you need to make your elastic. Then I take a safety pin and stick it in one end, and that helps me thread the elastic through the top hem. Make sure that your elastic is sticking through both ends of the skirt. Place right sides together and serge or stitch the open end of the skirt. When that's finished, all you need to do is place the skirt on your doll. I think it looks really cute if you pull the skirt all the way up to the armpits. Alright, our final step is just to hot glue or use E6000 glue to place the bow in the hair. And like you see me doing, you can decide which side of the head you like it better. And this completes your doll.